Welcome to the Squad Circle Relic Spot 女子&ジャパニーズスペシャル with your special guest Travis Tommie and Johnny Tancredi from the Card Foundation Pod.
Hello and welcome to the Squared Circle Relics podcast. Japanese / Joshi / Joshi, whatever you want to call it. Special. We are here. So I'm Lloydy the Liberator, and I'm here as always with Jamie and Chris. Guys,
Hello.
how are you?
Hello, all right.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Peeling back the curtain, we're on a Saturday here, aren't we?
I know. This is mad,
Weird.
isn't it? It's very strange. We're normally cramming it into a Thursday night, so it's nice to take it easy on a weekend. It's really nice. So normally we just crack on with the show as normal and go through this, but the thing is, the three of us know nothing about Japanese cards other than they're from Japan. So we have got a crack team in to help us today. So I'll go round the table. It's a six-pack. It's a six-pack of gentlemen. So the first one I'm going to go to is Tommie Redgrave from the ATP. Tommie, how you doing, buddy?
Good evening. Happy to be here. It's going to be a fun special, I think. Like a lot of knowledge out there to be learnt, so it's always good to pass it on.
I think we're going to be leaning on you, Tommie, a lot tonight because, as I say, you're an oracle of Japanese / Joshi. To be honest, though, like you've only been in it for a couple of years, though, Tommie, haven't you? Really, like in the trenches, as it were. So you're.
Yeah, it's one of the things where, like, early days I knew nothing about it, but once you do know where to buy from and how to buy from, it is kind of easy. You just have to get past the translating every page. And
Mental. That's so that's crazy to me, but I love it. I love it. The next person we're going to, my good friend from OTP, Travis Fowler from TB Toycast as well. We'll do plugs at the end, obviously. Travis, mate, it's the first time we've spoken live to each other. We've known each other for a year and never spoken before. How you doing, bud?
Well, pretty much. Even when we're both
Like
asleep,
every hour.
we both you wake up, it's like,
Pretty
oh,
much.
there's Lloydy. And
Yeah.
like, I think it's great. I am ready to shoot the shid. If we can call it that. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's shooting all over the place. Yeah. No, it's going to be great, mate. It's going to be great. It's going to be. I think we're going to be covering so many different areas. Yeah, I just think it's going to be absolute an insane ride today. So glad you have you on board, buddy.
You
Glad to have you on
you
board.
say there as well about the first time we've spoken to Trav. This is the first time we've actually ever spoke to Tommie, and we talk to Tommie every single day in our little
Every
ATP group.
day.
And we've
Since
never even
January.
talked to him either, have we?
No.
I didn't know if you guys had. I didn't want to be presumptuous.
No,
This is the first
never.
time I've spoken to Tommie.
Yeah, no,
Really?
never.
and we're all
Same,
so
man.
close as well.
Oh,
There we
man.
are.
Tommie.
It's
There you
like 2
go.
hours between us all.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're not that far away, are we? Really? Scary, really.
No.
But yeah. And last but not least, everyone's favourite Tancredi. It's hang on a second, Chris, Jamie. Don't stop recording. Sidebar. Everyone's favourite Tancredi is brother Michael. It's not this guy. This.
Did we ask for this guy?
Have we got to put up with this, Mook? Have we really? Seriously? Okay. Let's. Okay, I'll go. All right. Okay.
Hey, we do need to give him the benefit of the doubt. He did give
is
us the
true.
right time an hour early
That is
to make
true.
sure we
That is
were
true.
all on
I'll give him
time.
that.
So
Thank you, Travis.
I lie. It's our favourite Tancredi. It's the Godfather. It's the reason that we're all here. Without him, I don't think any of us would
No,
be talking
I
to each
totally
other
agree
right
with
now.
that. No, without you, mate, we would never have even met each other or spoke to each other. So big props to Johnny.
Oh, thank you, boys.
My Hank Mardukas, Johnny Tancredi.
What's up, everybody?
How you doing, bud?
Doing very well. It's 1 p.m. Eastern in the States. Chelsea's playing Newcastle right now. Probably going to blow this game in about the 86th minute, so I'll let you know. But yeah, I'm here to talk Japanese wrestling cards.
It's crazy, right? Like, I don't see much talk about Japanese wrestling cards within the community. Not really. I think that it's its own siloed area, to be honest. And there's not a lot of knowledge, not loads of knowledge about it all. I find it quite mysterious, some would say. So let's go to Tommie first. Tommie, what's your experience with Japanese cards? What are you into? What do you like? What do you not like?
The quality of the cards is just like unmatched, I think, compared to like US cards. Like I always think if you've any pack pull cards, you're pretty much almost guaranteed a 10 unless you do something damage to it just because of how well they print, the pictures they use. Like no surface issue at all. I had cards from 1997 which got 10s last year, which I think's mad.
Yeah, that is crazy. But what is your favourite sets? What do you?
I like the
what do you gravitate
early
towards? 2011
to 2013 True Heart sets. Like just the design's so clean on them, and like they're simple, but they all go together. They're all like the similar colour, so even you can put the years together. And there's just so many big names in them sets. You have the legends, you have these early Stardom people before they left in 2012. So there's just so many big names in them sets, which I think's like in a few years are going to be worth big
Who's
money
in
when
there?
people realise.
Who are we looking for here?
In 2013, you've got Bull Nakano's last autograph card so far. I've only ever seen it appear once, I think, online for sale. And it's like my Holy Grail card. You have Io Shirai, you have Kana, you have Kairi Sane's last BBM card before Stardom. You have Shida, you have like every wrestler who's been in the West. It's a set card in them sets.
So they slowly became popularized by the Westerners. No, that's cool, man. That is really cool. Travis, what about you? What's your favorite sets? What do you like about the Japanese cards?
So, card wise, I got into it shortly after. Shout out to Johnny. After started listening to the Card Foundation. I'd been following Japanese wrestling since like '99. Rob Van Dam on his website back in the day showed an ad for Fire Pro Wrestling G on the original PlayStation, and then that was my like introduction into importing wrestling games. So then I'm finding out about Kenta Kobashi and Mitsuharu Misawa, and then like that graduates into Virtual Pro Wrestling and Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 and tape trading. And I'm aging myself when I say tape trading because everything's digital now. But I used to love that. Went to ECW Heatwave '98. I saw. I was in Dayton, and I got to see Hayabusa.
Oh my God.
So
Wow.
that was huge. So I'd always followed it, and I followed video games, but
Yep.
like I never really collected
Wow.
the wrestling cards until recently. And then you start looking at eBay, and I'm like, BBM. Like that sounds kind of dirty, but well, let's look it up. Like, so like you start just like you do with like anything with cards, you start going down the rabbit hole like, oh, that's cool. And you start doing more research and finding out there's, not only, years of, BBM or Baseball Magazine. So if we do say BBM, that's what we'll be talking about or referencing. And then, to go off what Tommie said, you find out that a lot of these American stars, female wrestlers, had their first cards in BBM. Rob Van Dam's first card, Lance Storm, Hogan had Japanese cards before anything here in the States, and
which go for an absolute fortune as well, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Anything Ichiban, Hulk Hogan, like it's its own subculture, but you get aspects of American culture and American collecting inside of it. But then they've also like expanded out into their own things. I know we do a lot of the trading cards, but they've got the trading card games that Ibushi Road does. They have not only autograph inserts, but on the Joshi side, they've got checkies, which is like a Polaroid. Like you get an autographed Polaroid. So like, and they've been doing this for years. And you just, when you're looking for something different, you're like, wow, like that's cool. Like I know we're big on shiny stuff and we're fried of collecting that. Like, oh, I can get, I think it's called a bromine. Tommie, you're going to have to check me on that. But they've got like, it's a canvas that has a Polaroid that they've autographed as well as their autographed and a handprint. And I know that's really goofy and sounds really goofy, but like for $20-$30, it's just something that you can't get here in the States. So, I guess long story short, the availability of both like the Japanese superstars, the American superstars, and how they expand into the different collectible markets has really got me into and enjoying collecting anything and all Japanese cards and collectible.
Wow. Honestly, mate, that was what an introduction. Lovely. Johnny.
I don't know how to follow up, you know, being at Heatwave 98.
You know what I mean?
That's, but I think I might kind of have a similar background with Japanese stuff. You know, I found it through ECW and WCW. You know, so originally it was just watching those products like years later. Like I'm not even talking like when it was on. I'm talking like maybe within the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. You know, going back on and watching old WCW stuff and seeing guys like Jushin Thunder Liger and a Great Muta and saying, oh, who are these guys? And then, you know, watching ECW and watching, you know, the Japanese tours they'd go on and bringing over guys like Hayabusa and like, who are these guys? And then eventually, you know, going back and watching some of their old matches, like, this is incredible wrestling. That led to the current product. And then, you know, with the current product, it was like, all right, you know, Kenny Omega, I've heard a lot about him. I've never seen a match before. What's this all about? You know, guys like that, guys like Okada. And I eventually go back and watch that stuff. And I'm like, this is like the best wrestling on the planet. How is nobody talking about this over here? You know, we're so used to WWE and then eventually AEW, and it's great stuff. We're all fans of it, but I think the Japanese stuff, it was like for the next step of wrestling fan in a way. It was, you know, it was more of like the nerd wrestling fan, and you're talking about the actual matches, and, you know, it wasn't so storyline oriented a lot of the time. It was just this 5-star match. This is great. And that was kind of like what I was into at the time, still am. So ultimately I kind of fell in love with the product, and then that translated to cards, because everything, you know, ultimately does. Anything that I'm into, I have to go see if there's a card available. Whether it's baseball, you know, American football, English football, wrestling, whatever it is. So ultimately that led me down the rabbit hole that Travis talked about. And I lean more towards the BBM stuff, the earlier stuff, even though I'm probably more of a fan of the product. I know more about the product now. I think the BBM cards are incredible. You know, so like the early sets like 95, 96, 97, the Sparkling Fighters. I mean, you don't see cards like that anymore, unfortunately. I love those sets, and I think they did a great job. And so that's kind of like the stuff that I'm collecting in terms of Japanese now. I really hope that one day New Japan gets like a True Hearts version, because I'm not crazy about like the game cards. It's just, you know, I collect them because it's the only thing we have, but I just wish there was more. You know, so hopefully I would like to see them go down more of like a BBM road eventually. But, you know, I know with, you know, the ownership of New Japan and everything, it's a little tough. Bushi Road is not going to push, you know, another card product to when they own it. So, but yeah, that's kind of like my story.
Yeah, we, so within the UK, over the last 10 years, we've been very lucky to be on that train of Japan, basically. So there's been one promotion called Rev Pro in the UK that's been very Japanese orientated to bring them across, to bring all the big boys and basically everyone from New Japan, to be honest, across. We've not had Makabe yet, but we've had pretty much everyone else. So I think that's led quite a few people actually over in ATP to actually find and go and investigate what there is out there in the Japanese landscape for cards. So that's what, yeah. So I think we've been spoilt more than OTP has with the Japanese wrestling for the last 10 years. We've had pay-per-views over here and XYZ, and it's been really good. Only thing for me is I haven't been taken with the Japanese cards.
Even on the women's side, we've had like Eve in London, who's brought over Joshi from pretty much every promotion.
Yeah,
they've brought over Stardom. Tomorrow they've got two
Sunday
people.
Girls.
Just tomorrow's show, they've got 2 people from Tokyo Joshi, 2 people from Marvelous, and then other people coming over. So I think that helped pushing. Because I've noticed on my eBay, someone will come over for a show, and then someone will buy their base card just because they've seen them, and it's continuously pushing more and more towards it.
But that's awesome, though. That's what we want. You know what I mean? We want more eyes on this stuff. So I think the next question for me is, what are the sets that we currently have? So let's take 2022, maybe 2021 as well. What sets have we had within the last 12 to 24 months within the Japanese card area? Where it could be anything. But explain what sets we've had and who's made them, and basically what they like. How would you rate them?
Every year you get the BBM. It used to be True Heart, but now they just called it Women's Wrestling. It usually comes out about late March, early April, and pre-orders go up January, early February. So we had that this year, and then just recently you've had BBM Infinity, I think it's called. It changes between Infinity and Mastermind. It's pretty much a mixed bag set. So it's half baseball and half pretty much everything else. But last few years they have had wrestlers in it. So this year is Ricky Chosu. There is a MMA fighter who wrestles in DDT. Last year you had Ibushi Autos in it. And I think it was 2019 they had all of LIJ in it. So that's like the last real actual BBM like card for New Japan. And then you've had the 2 Rebirth sets. So you've had New Japan and Stardom Rebirth sets where they do the trial decks first.
Which were pretty big, right? Yeah. There was a lot of interest in those.
Yeah, so I've seen people who don't even don't know about BBM, but they knew about the Rebirth. So I think that's going to push more and more people. And it might even push them back into the older Stardom sets.
The only thing is it all based around a game?
Yeah. So they have 2 sets in Bushiroad. They have Wii Schwartz and Rebirth, which are both essentially card games, but they're huge. And like even the Wii Schwartz now, they're doing like Marvel ones, Star Wars, which are getting bigger and bigger. Yeah. So like even at the card show this weekend, it's like the other weekend, it's the first time I've seen them in the UK, but so many stores had the boxes of them. So I think that could be a way to introduce people into the wrestling cards.
It's really cool. I mean, for me personally, I'm not a big fan of like game cards, basically, like slam attacks and stuff like that. Really, I'm not a massive fan. I know that they have, like, for example, is there autos in these?
They're stamp autos, so they're like stamped onto the card.
And they also have their own out of 50, where they will do. It's a super rare or a super short print. They've got their own special like labeling, but yeah, there are the partner cards are your full art pretty much. There's foil and like a gold ring around the card, but then the big one,
they're expensive as well,
is the out of 50, and those are, and they only pick 4 to 5 of, like, on the Stardom side. I haven't dove into the New Japan side. They all pick like one member of the faction, like the popular ones. So like Julia is in Donna Del Mundo. So there are 4 or 5 out of 50. And I can say that, like, unlike a lot of American products, the out of 50 are very, very, very hard to get. You don't see them. Yeah, you don't see them on eBay, Yankee Bay, buy any, like, and when you do, they've got a ridiculous buy it now or starting bid because there's no comps. So they're working their own market because they are, yes, they're 50 but they are they're not even one a case. I don't think, like, it's tough.
Would you get them in Japan easier than on like Western sites?
I don't think so, no. Like, I've only seen one for Utami who I collect, and that was graded, and they had it up for like $5,000. So I'm going nowhere near that right now.
It puts our hunt into a different world, doesn't it? Really. Sorry, Johnny. Go on.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that with the rebirth stuff. Again, it's like really the only thing we have right now. It's coming out, with new product. And again, I'm like you. I'm like the card game stuff. I'm not crazy about it. I think Topps Chrome Slam Attacks would have been one of the best products to come out if it wasn't a card game, because the card stock is incredible. The refractors are incredible. I love the way that they serial numbered but there's autos in it. I think I can't get past the card game thing. And I
You're making Chris cry right now. He loves it so much.
It's incredible. It is.
But no, yeah.
My NWO John Cena doesn't need a 96 power for me to get to buy it. I just like my NWO John Cena. Just put him on there.
I would say, though, I agree with Johnny there. Like, I don't like the fact that it's card game. I wish it wasn't. But, that's all we had. So, do you know what I mean?
I've never seen anyone play it either, which is a weird thing. Like, you don't see anyone in the groups talk about it, really.
Me and my son have tried to play it. We just kind of made up our own rules, though.
It's the same with Raw Deal, though.
So.
I used to love the Raw Deal cards and the imagery on the Raw Deal cards, but I've never learned how to play them, and I've never known anyone really to play Raw Deal, But that was all we could get over here, really. Like, during the early 2000s, that was all we could really get in the shops, wasn't it? It was Raw Deal. It's really interesting, really, like, how these things have just come along.
So what's everyone's favourite sets, then, going back to the dawn of Japanese cards? I don't care which ones they are. What's everyone's greatest sets and what's in them that you like?
So I mentioned the early 2012 and the early, but I also really enjoyed the 2019 Stardom set. It's like the last set they ever produced of a actual card, and like there's a lot of names in there. There's a lot of Western names in there who you could define as rookie cards if that's how you want to do it. So you've got like Tony Storm, B Priestley, like all them, and it's just like no one knows. The weird thing is no one knows why they stopped doing them, because they were so popular. They just took them off the store one day, never said anything about them again, and that's just the cut-off. And I don't think there's ever like a definitive checklist for it either.
And, well, Tommie, I'll ask, because John Thurman,
shout out John.
Shout out to him.
Love John.
He's also... John has asked me, and I don't know, and there's no better time to ask than now on the podcast, but with those Stardom cards, were they pack released? Did you buy, like, how were they released? Because I've seen them, like, there's Chelsea Green cards, Brandy Rhodes, Shayna Baszler's rookie cards are in there. There are all kinds of, like you were saying, Western stars, but like how were those released? Were they like the all-in where you got like, I don't want to say a deck of cards, but here's the set of 100. How were those released?
Those individual packs. So like you had to build the set, and I think they sold them at shows, and I think the 2019 they possibly did on the store. But like the international store was pretty much non-existent. You pretty much got whatever was left over from their shows. It would go on the store maybe the following Monday. But I think you got about one auto pack, which is like the hit rate, and that's really good. And I think they had a load left. I think I remember on one of the Wrestling Trading Card podcasts, talked about at a show, the Stardom people there just gave him a bunch of packs after the US tour because they didn't get rid of them, and he was just sat on them for ages.
That is crazy.
So going into all you guys, how you all collect, like, I don't know how you all collect, like, Johnny, Tommie and Travis, do you like collect base sets or do you collect PC individual people? Like, what's your way of collecting this, and what's the easiest way do you think is to collect if people are getting into it as well?
PC personally, I get everyone. I'd like to get one card of everyone I've met, which is quite high at the moment, and then I have my individual PC people from each promotion. So like I have 1 or 2 per promotion, and I'll try and get their cards, and it is fairly easy to do because a lot of the auto cards, unless they're a big name, you can get for between like £10 and £20, which I think is just mad. And like the Maki Ito cards, I got her autos for like £15 like every year, and then once she hit AEW, they were selling for like 70, 80, and it's the same with Shida.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think for me it's PC. It's just picking up guys that I like, picking up guys that I'm just a fan of. I'm not too much of a set collector when it comes to this stuff. The older stuff, the BBM stuff, I pick up like just like the guys, like I said, like that I'm into. Liger and Hayabusa and stuff like that, just in nostalgia purposes. I like to have those cards just one-offs. The nice thing about that is there's no parallels or anything, so I'm not chasing a rainbow or anything like that. So it's cool just to have the one card thrown in the box. With the new Bushiroad stuff or the Rebirth stuff, it's a little bit more. I like the foils. I've been trying to collecting as much as I can with like the gold foil stuff, like the quote unquote full art. It's kind of like a Pokemon reference, but it's similar style. So there's a little bit more to collect with that stuff, I think, just because like those are their parallels, and there's inserts and there's a little bit more. But I'm not putting a set together by any means. It's really all strictly PC stuff.
I'm a combination of both Tommie and Johnny. I PC it. With the Rebirth stuff, I have bought boxes. At first with the Stardom stuff, you could get boxes for about $33 shipped, which was really, really cheap, especially with the foil ratio and all that. But then I go back to player collecting for my PC because, as Johnny said, there's not a lot of each one. So, like, especially with the Stardom wrestlers, because they only have the game cards, they may only have 1 to 2 BBM from the True Heart or the Joshi sets. So it's easy to go back to eBay or Bai is another like international Yahoo auctions / Macari that you can go in and do a search, and it's cheaper and more affordable to just snipe and pick the 1 to 2 cards that you're looking for instead of buying a box, because boxes after the first year they come out jump up $300-400 US, and I get to pay my bills and do all the fun stuff, but I don't want to take a $300 to $400 gamble and not get what I'm looking for. I'd rather, if it pops up, put that money towards the single and know that I.
The thing is, brother,
got what I'm looking for.
The thing is, brother, that's the world we live in these days. Unless you're getting those singles, all product these days. It's the year of the bubble, man. 2022. Shit's gone real, right? It's everything's those prices these days. So
it's true.
It all depends if you like the rip or not, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love to rip as much as the next guy, but especially with the limited numbers. I've talked to Tommie about it. There is on eBay about 3 boxes of 2019 True Heart, and there's about 5 of the girls or 5 of the wrestlers that I would love to get one of their autograph, and you get 5 to 6 autos a box, but of the 150 base cards, everybody gets an auto. Like 5 out of 150 is a chance, and you've got that, you've got that chance, but I can't. I don't want to say I can't. I haven't been pushed over the edge enough to try to gamble and get a Julia Otto or Shida or Mina Shirakawa, like any of the girls that I do collect, because I know as soon as I like, all right, I'm going to do this, that auto that I'm looking for is going to pop up, and I'm gonna be like, damn it. Like it's just Murphy's Law. That's how it works in card collecting. The minute you make the jump and you make the gamble is the minute that, oh, it just pops up and you're like, well, shit. Or shid. Sorry. Well, shid.
There's always been that banger come up for you though. You know what I mean? There's always that you probably don't think you're gonna get it, and then all of a sudden, it's there. Like, and you're not the one to procrastinate on it, Travis. I know you.
Yeah.
You will go for it. But no, that's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Even I know that you guys, I think almost all of you, if not all of you, have been in the Card Foundation breaks at one point. And honestly, I thought about on my own just bringing in some Japanese boxes and doing breaks with them just to kind of get everybody here, or even, to you guys, a chance at more product. But then it's like, I think it's like maybe, 8 of us that collect it. So it's like, all right, am I better off just bringing that stuff in and just saying, all right, guys, this is what's in the box, who wants what, instead of doing a break? Because at the end of the day, it's like, I have no problem, splitting something, by an 1/8 or a 1/10, so we all can get what we want. But, is a break the right way to do that? Maybe not. I think there is a growing interest in this stuff, especially in our group. I've gotten so many ideas from the Facebook group that we created, from you guys, just posting what you're buying, and I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. That's how I found Rebirth. I was itching for a New Japan product, and I saw a bunch of guys were pre-ordering it, and I was like, I gotta get my hands on this, because this is the kind of stuff that I'm watching, and I'm not really watching WWE on a weekly basis anymore. So, when Chrome comes out or Impeccable or whatever, I'm like, there's like 1 or 2 guys that I care about, but with Rebirth, there's 15 people that I care about, so why am I opening, select? It's tough now.
Hey,
I think when you look at the
WWE's
box
cool
prices,
these days. Sorry, Tommy.
I think when you look at the box prices, like you can buy a box of like True Heart release for like 55, and you can get like 5 boxes of that, and you get 5 autos guaranteed each box. You're getting pretty much 25 autos compared to, say, like Spectrum. You're getting the 1 auto, and like they're not going to sell as much, but you also are getting hits in there which do sell, and every year the prices are going up. So if you do need to sell, like I sold a Checky the other day for 200 for Yuka, so that paid for 4 boxes.
That's incredible markup you can do there. How have you guys found it, obviously being sort of collecting away from Japan? Like in the US, is it easy to get into collecting and sort of, buy cards on the secondary market, and even in the UK, Tommy, like how you find it picking cards up? Do you have to actually buy from source, or is there enough people that you can actually buy across each other really?
And do any of you guys have like mailboxes out there that you use? Yeah.
So I've got 2 mailboxes. I have the one that give you get 33 days for every time you buy an item to keep it there. And then I also use a place called Tenso, which is kind of under the same umbrella, but I ship everything from Buy to Tenso, because through Tenso I can buy through the individual wrestling stores, so I can buy merch from each company and send it there.
Okay. You've got more postal addresses in Japan than I have in the UK. That's insane.
Like the one thing I like with Tenso as well is like there is no set limit how long you can leave something there for. They give you 31 days to combine an item, but once everything's combined, you can leave it there for like a month, 2 months if you need to get the money just to get it. And the shipping is fairly reasonable. I think I pay about 60 odd each time, but I fill it up with like 30, 40 cards each time.
Yeah, I think it's time to set something up for myself, at least, just because I'm kind of gravitating more towards that market, I think now. And it's getting to that point where I'm like, I'm looking at all this cool stuff, and I'm like, I'm not going to just pay to bring it here. It's ridiculous. So that's probably my next logical step would be to kind of And I'm going to lean on you guys. I'm going to probably be messaging Tommie right after this because I'm like,
Say it, yeah.
that's I'm glad that we're able to have this conversation and talk about this stuff. But yeah, I think that's the next logical step. Just like I know a lot of you guys did over here. I know a lot of you guys have your ship your cards and all that stuff, which is it's amazing because it's so much easier to just do that. At least for us, us selling to you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have my own address. And
it's a Fowler box.
Trav's got one in Melbourne Games.
Trav's got the same one somehow.
Yeah, instead of ComC, he has Trav T. It comes out of Ohio. With the new stuff, I do a Google search because with a lot of the Rebirth stuff, you can find it on like a lot of the import wrestling video game sites like Japan Video Games. So the new releases, it's kind of like what we do with, the American cards, do a Google search, who has it, who's got the best price and go that route. For the old stuff and the singles, it's exactly like Tommie said. I'll give everybody the ongoing biggest secret in Japanese wrestling cards. It's called Bai. Bai.jp. It is a mailbox to where you can purchase anything from Japan, not just cards, from Yahoo Auctions, Yahoo Japan, Mercari Japan, and a couple other different vendors. But you do your bid just like you do on eBay. If you win, they take it immediately out of your PayPal, and then they hold it in their warehouse for 30 days, and then you can combine shipping. They give you the option to add protection, so they'll bubble wrap it. They check it to make sure that it is, the quality that they say it is. But I've been doing Bai a lot, especially for my singles, because you can see the price difference. There'll be a card that's, say, $20 on eBay or Yankee Bay. I'm glad that I finally get to say that on a podcast. Feels good. But when you look on Bai on a Yahoo auction or Mercari, it's $1.98. Now, you're probably going to pay $10 to $12 shipping, but you're combining shipping with multiple things, so it does kind of even out and spread out across. But that's the best thing that I have found for the most bang for your buck, because they're putting up stuff from these old BBMs like we do old, WWE, Topps Chrome, WCW Impel, because this is what they've grown up with for 20 some odd years. So it's just sitting in a box. It's like, oh, hey, there's this Kana rookie that I spent $1 on. That goes for $300. They throw it up, and their auctions are a little different because they can do this thing where they will extend the auction, which is frustrating because if somebody bids within the last 5 minutes, it will add 5 more minutes for the person that just got sniped to come back in and do an additional bid. So,
it's like a polite eBay. Let's go. Let's let the other guy get a chance.
It wasn't out. It was fine.
Yeah. I was watching. I won a 2019 Julia autograph that was supposed to end at 10 o'clock our time on a Sunday morning. It did not end until 11:30. It added an hour and a half, and so I'm sitting at my laptop every 5 minutes, and it's like I make a bid. It gets down to 1 minute, someone else makes a bid, and I later found out who was making that bid. It is a collector. We've since found out we both have ran up auctions on each other. So shout out Henny Omega, because we both had to sit at our laptops on some of these Bai auctions, because I would make a bid, it would add 5 minutes, he would make a bid, and thanks to the Card Foundation weekly purchases, I saw the card that I missed out on, and I went, man, that looks familiar. So then I send a quick message over to Henny. I'm like, hey, man, congratulations. I'm sorry that I ran that up on you. He goes, that was you? My bad, dude. So it's, small world, going to kind of like a tangent, but it is really a small world that you don't know who's bidding against you or anything like that, because it's such a niche market.
It's the same over here, though, even for us on UK eBay. Like, how many times in our ATP group have we all been bidding on the same lot of stuff? We thought, this is a bargain. Me and Chris...
we're very good now, though. We're very good now. We all say, we're going for this. Please, nobody get in my way. It's very nice. We're very gentlemanly.
But it's just that not knowing, it's such a small community still, really, isn't it? No matter what you're after, really.
No, it really is. Like, and it's just been in cards, and like I said, Henny and I have had a conversation. He's ran a couple up on me. I've ran a couple up on him, and we had no idea until we posted it in our a weekly purchases in the group. And then when you see it, because it's a PSA graded card, or in this instant, an autograph card, I won a 2019, but Henny won a 2018. And with these BBM autos, they do an individual inscription on each one. It's not like an American autograph where it's just the same, John Star J Star C for John Cena. They'll really put an effort into it. So when I saw the autograph, I was like, boy, that looks like the one that I just lost. And I checked. I was like, oh yeah, Henny got it. So it's crazy. But it's also really, really cool that, that we can all be looking for stuff like this.
Oh yeah. I mean, how many times, I think it's 3 or 4 times now, I bought a card on eBay and it got to my house and I opened it and it was like, hey, thanks for the purchase. By the way, love the show. Or hey, guess I'll see this on weekly purchases this week. And I'm like, I didn't even realize that it's a person that listens to the show or is in our group. And it's it's wild. But if you think about it, it makes sense because our community, I feel is so small in terms of, the hobby in general. I mean, baseball, basketball, American football, English football, whatever. It's so big. It's so much bigger. But, we've kind of narrowed it down where we're it's we know everybody, we know everybody across the pond. We know everybody here. It's that's what I love about it.
The UK is so small. It's tiny. I didn't think it would be that small with the community. Don't get me wrong, I think there's a lot of people that don't actually speak that much, to be honest, who do collect. But the ones that do speak, especially on Facebook and whatever, it's quite a small community, really.
Well, and
even smaller with the Japanese.
If you think about it, some of these cards are numbered to 5 and 10. What are the odds of those collectors, at least half of them, going after that one card and are fairly high. So
overall then, for you guys, how many people do you think are collecting overseas? Is there sort of a really small pool? How many people, some of you come across here in the UK who also collect Japanese cards, and in the US, you guys, do you come across many people, or is it always the same faces that you see?
Over it's pretty much always the same people. I know one other eBay account which sells the Joshi cards as well, and then if I get a sale, it's generally the same, 4 people. I can usually tell who's bought it before I even look at the name, just because I know what they buy and that. So
okay,
and even on Facebook, you don't see anything over here in terms of Joshi or even just any Japanese wrestling. It is all eBay. I know a couple of people who do collect, who don't sell and that.
No,
they do buy from Japan and that, but even going to shows now, a lot of people, I was at a show the other month and one of the Japanese wrestlers was giving out cards for every purchase. And the amount of people I heard saying, I didn't realise they had cards as well. So I think there is just so many people here who do like the wrestling, but just don't know about the cards.
How about you guys in the US?
I think it's a lot of the same people. And then every year there's, a little bit more get added, especially with NXT, WWE, and AEW bringing in Shida, Riho, Kairi Sane. Michael Cole has been talking about Asuka and Io and Triple Tails, talking about, when their old tag team. And I think that once you're listening to a pay-per-view, it's like Triple Tails, and then that'll start a Google search, and then that just kind of gets the ball rolling to Triple Tails. I also think, and Johnny, you can correct me or add to this, but here in the States, we get blinded by our own. Well, if it's not here in the States, it doesn't matter. And like that, I didn't, well, it's not an American release. What do I care about BBM? I didn't even think to look for Japanese cards for so long. And then once you find out about it, it's like, oh man, this whole new like land of collecting just opens up because you've got those blinders on that, well, this isn't based off of the American collecting rules of American wide release pack pull, blah, 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 like the definitive or definition of like a Beckett collecting. So I think once you broaden your horizons, it's a whole new ball game.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I mean, it's funny because you mentioned like bringing over that product over to the States. AEW Forbidden Door, I felt like was huge because it was the first time for a lot of the American audience to see like someone like Okada or like Jay White, and like it was funny. My brother came over to watch that pay-per-view with me, and he's like, "This is my first Okada match," and I'm like, "No, Danny, so the third."
Is that the favorite thing?
Yeah, you know him. But and I was like, wow, it's wild. But then I think about it, and I'm like, all right, I started watching wrestling in like 1997. It took me like maybe 20 years to see my first Liger match. I'm like, why? Why did it take that long? It shouldn't have taken that long. In the sense of like that such a great product over there. Why did it take so long to translate? To my interest. People like Io Shirai or Asuka. I saw them in WWE for the first time, but they're so great, and I love watching them. Why did it take so long? And I think you're right. It's just, if it's not easily accessible here, it's kind of just like, all right, I'm not going to really put in the extra work. And you can relate to anything, even English football. I love Chelsea, but up until the last couple of years when it was being shown on like NBC or USA Network here in the States. You had to download an app or on a laptop to watch a soccer game, and it was at 7 a.m. sometimes in our time. And it's like, all right, I'm not, going to wake up then. So it's just tough. But, now I think with the way everything is, I mean, look at it. We're, we're all talking right now and we're all over the place. So it's a different world.
I have noticed a lot, like the promotions out in America when they bring people over, like GCW been bringing over Rina Yamashita, and I've seen a lot of like indie collectors buying her cards lately just because she's been putting on these death matches and there, and it's been fun seeing like how popular she's become over there in terms of cards.
Yeah, I mean, I was even saying too, like when Stardom comes here, I think you're going to see a jump in that stuff because I think again American audiences are going to be seeing these people for the first time. And they're gonna be like, "Wow, this is incredible. What's out there? Let's do a quick search. Okay, boom, here are the cards." And they're gonna.
I think there's rumours of a Tokyo Joshi also wrestling Mania weekend as well, doing something with GCW. So that's like even more brands coming over, and I think that'll just push it. Obviously, they've been working with AEW, so you've seen Maki, Yuka, Shoko, and all that.
Lots recently, isn't there? There's been loads. I've got a nonsensible question and a sensible question. The nonsensible question, Travis, you mentioned about Asuka, obviously probably the most well-known Japanese wrestler I'd say in the West right now. Is the accent fake, or she's been there for 7 years? Like, her accent is terrible. Like, I have this vision in my mind that she's got like this Southern Belle accent, really, but on camera, it's like one or two words.
It's funny you say that. John and I were just talking about that because of the promo last week of the Baka Baka Baka, and I think that is her accent. I think that she is at that age where she is making that WWE money, that guaranteed contract. She's our age. Lloydy. She's in her early 40s, and oh, my bad. We're the old grandpas of here, but when she first came over, I know she had a translator and worked very hard to try to cut English promos, but I think that honestly that she's just dialing it in. She's figured out how to get over without having to cut a very detailed English promo, and it's like at this point I'm just gonna do what I do and get paid. But I think that now she does overdo it on TV. If you watch her YouTube stuff like Kana-chan or whatever, she's a little more soft spoken, but I think that she's perfectly fine and just knows enough to get what she needs.
I just find it bizarre because, like, I know if I was in Japan for 7 years, I wouldn't say that I would know. Like, I wouldn't know to string a sentence together at least, probably. I know. Anyway, the sensible question, inverting what we were just talking about, how popular are the wrestling cards actually in Japan? Does anyone know?
I think they're quite popular. Like a few years ago, they used to set out like immediately, just even buying the boxes. So I think they've started to reproduce more and more. But I think cards in general are just super over in Japan. Like anything out there has a card, whether it's a TV show, film, toy line, everything there has cards. And like they just give them out at shows, and I think they just love the collectible stuff like that. And I think baseball is the biggest thing in terms of sport, but pretty much any sport you can get out there.
I would think that they're fairly popular as well because they keep, producing them. Stardom right now is releasing every live event, one or two homemade, I say homemade, but an acrylic card, and they're going to go through the whole roster, and, you see those popping up every once in a while. I know BBM is the equivalent of Topps. They've been around since like the beginning of trading card time for Japan, and every year there's a new BBM. They keep releasing updates to these Ibushi roads, and so from what I've seen, while never stepping foot in the country, it is still very, very popular over there.
Yeah, I believe too. They maybe it was last year's Wrestle Kingdom. They were giving out special cards at each venue that they did a show at for that weekend, or that show. So like if you went to say the Tokyo Dome, you would get a specific card there, which I mean that's telling because they don't really do that much over here, and I'd say cards are pretty over. Maybe not wrestling as much as other stuff, but I guess you see that at baseball games here. Like there's like National Baseball Card Day by Topps, and you go to the ballpark, and there'll be like one day where the promotion is a pack of cards or something. So I would say if they're doing that for like a Wrestle Kingdom show, that's pretty important.
And where do you guys see the future of it all going? Like, do you just see this growing and growing across the world, or do you think it's going to sort of simmer down? Where do you see it all going? Do you see a boom like we have with the US cards?
I think it all relies on like the actual wrestling, like how popular the actual wrestling gets in the UK and the US. So like, if they do keep putting on these shows and every year, like Mania weekend, and the big companies bring people over all the time, I do think they will get popular, but I think it will be like more like a 5-year thing rather than next year. Like every year I do see, I'm sure everyone else sees like more people get into it, but it is a slow increase at the moment. Whereas like it's not like AEW when it came out, everyone jumped on that, no matter if it's WWE or anything. Whereas here it's just like a select fan base of just getting the.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's gonna start or continue to increase based on the exposure that we see over here, especially like Tommie was saying, as more promotions start coming to the States, it's maybe it's 2 or 3 people per promotion that are coming over, like working with GCW or doing like a Forbidden Door thing. Maybe they're popping up on AEW, and then it leads to, searching for their cards, and that's kind of how it grows from there. Ultimately, I would love to see it go from there to new sets that people are buying. Full sets and going after more than just one or two people, going after a full promotion. Would love to see, this is a complete pipe dream, but Topps just put out over the last couple of years, they did do an MPB, Nippon Professional Baseball set, which you would ask me that 5 years ago, I would have laughed because there's no way there's enough interest to put out a Japanese baseball card line in the States by Topps, yet they've done it the last 2 years and actually did pretty well. So, who knows? Maybe as things become different in the card world, a lot of these companies are going to be looking for new licenses. As say if Fanatics takes over, or there's all those rumors out there about what's going to happen with Panini and all that stuff down the road. Who knows? Maybe Upper Deck wants to continue in wrestling because of the AEW success they've had, so they jump into another license.
Coming 2054.
The release date, yeah.
Right.
But you never know. That's what I would love to see, and it's probably a pipe dream for now. But never say never in wrestling and cards. So
I think there is going to be a crescendo or a gradual growth. We're seeing more of it stateside. Stardom just came over with the New Japan in New York a couple weeks ago. Brought over 3 girls, and it's also, I think, how big and how fast these other companies want to grow, like New Japan making New Japan World and then making an English version of it. So like when Jericho came over to where you could actually start seeing this and have a subscription service like WWE Network, Stardom is working on the same thing, like to where, hey, if you go to one of these shows, Mania weekend, and you see, like right now, Waka and Mina Shirakawa were at these New Japan shows. It's like, oh, they're in Stardom. Hey, here's a Stardom World flyer, and you get a free month, and then you can kind of get hooked. I'll compare it to like an American wrestling or American pro wrestling. They're one, New Japan had the Bullet Club. That was one of the big things that made Japanese wrestling popular here in the States. I think that Joshi is also one big star, one big person from breaking that glass ceiling. We've seen a couple of them, Riho, Shida, Asuka, they've all done big things, but there's just not been that one to just stone cold it, shatter that roof, and then just everybody is on board.
Should it have been Shida? Should it have been the Shids?
I mean, she was the second AEW women's champion, so I think she did a shitty job of breaking the. Sorry, that's
no, it's a shitty job. But yeah, I mean, no, I get you, man. I get you. It's, I do think that it's a shame that they can't live off that card alone with regard. They have to come over to the West for them to elevate themselves for that interest to happen. I think that's a bit of a shame, to be honest.
I think there is a few steps that do need to happen. There is no checklist released online anywhere every year. They're just on the back of the boxes, so it's relied on people manually translating it. And the grading companies are now just starting to grade stuff. Like CSG are grading the older Stardom cards now. So I think once you start getting more graded cards, and CSG are actually promoting wrestling cards more and more. And I have seen Japanese cards they've promoted, so I think that's going to give a little bit of a push to help it. I know Stardom still are a bit iffy on BBM cards, so I sent a load off the other week, and 4 of mine aren't being graded, and they're Io Shirai, Shida, and Asuka. So it's the 3 biggest names there in America at the moment, and they're just not being graded.
Which is baffling, really, because, one, you think to yourself, hang on a second, what what investigation are they doing into these kind of things? But they're the big names, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
it
doing the
doesn't make any
base cars,
sense.
but just not the autos, it seems. It's like the base
really?
versions of them are coming back graded, but the autos aren't.
You know, it depends on who you get. A lot of these companies. My brother sent in a bunch of the all-in cards. Got rejected because they said that they couldn't find any information. Meanwhile, and that was with PSA, and he emailed the rep back and said, I could send you listings on eBay of these cards graded right now. You know, you've done it before. Look, check your registry. But it's just it's baffling and it's frustrating.
I had a very similar experience to Tommie on the national submission back in July. I sent over a handful of rebirth cards, and I think I sent 10 or 11, and like they all got graded except one. And it's like, well, you graded, Utami, you graded Julia, you graded another one, but you won't grade Mina. Like I don't, they're all on the same checklist. You verified, 10 of these. Why this one? It's a very peculiar,
It's frustrating
you don't,
more than anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's $17 I wanted to give them, and they're just like, nope, we're good.
The good thing is you don't pay for it. Like they don't ask for the money and then look at it and go, no, we're not grading it. So you don't lose anything per se. It's just frustrating why they do some and not others.
And they make it past the research stage, which I think is weird. Like, the research stage is all fine, and it's once they've passed grading, you realise they've not done it. So you'd think they would catch it at research rather than go to grade it.
Yeah. Because the big names, they're missing out, but they're doing the smaller names. It just seems mad, doesn't it, really?
I have a question for you guys. If PSA opened up a London office, would that change your mind, or would you?
Well, we're already grading.
Would you send stuff to them?
So we are already grading, but
I know some of you guys are
within the UK.
Yeah.
The amount of cars which do go over to PSA like every month, so like there's middlemen who people use, and like they send off thousands a month, but there's also people who would grade, but they just want to do it themselves but don't know how. So if they opened, I think you would get a lot. And it's not just like Pokemon grading's very big over here, like to the point where UK companies have opened up and they're coming quite big just because people want to grade their Pokemon cards and protect them.
It'd go to the Netherlands. Everything always bloody goes to the Netherlands.
Yeah.
It will
Little tax haven.
For some reason. It'll be, tax haven probably. But it will probably end up in the Netherlands and us sending across. And it will probably cost us the same amount of money than it would sending it to the States, to be honest.
I think even just anywhere in Europe would be massive. Like, there's a big car show in Germany, right, like this weekend, and there's so many people there. So I think anywhere in Europe you'd get such an increase. But it's handy, he's usually at the card show, so I can just give my cards to him and he gives them back to me at the show.
And Tommie, you grade with PSA?
I do a bit of everything. I send myself to PSA, but I send to CSG through like a middleman. I send like all my Indy cards.
We haven't done a CSG sub via you yet. We might do. I like the CSG. I do like the slabs. They're quite nice. Jamie's going into it next time, aren't you, Jamie?
You know what? All the years I've been doing stuff, I've always been frightful of grading stuff, like sending it off to the States. And obviously, before I met all you guys, like I had no connections of anyone who'd ever done it before either. So, so I said to Tommie, I might have to pop over here, and sort of he goes through my PC and says, that's good, that's bad, that's no good, that's all right, to go through. And, I'm going to be grading for the very first time. Not for, to sell it onwards, but just protect some of these cards, top loaders and mag loaders just aren't the only way to look after these cards, and having them, slabs is definitely the way forward for me on those rarer cards anyway.
I mean, for me, it's the journey of going across again, because I buy a lot of my cards in the US anyway. So then they come over, and then it's like, do I really want to send them back? And I trust Tommie more, so Tommie's done mine and Dave's for us. It's always handy to have someone who's done it before and kind of knows a little bit more about it. But yeah, if we had a London one or, you know, a UK one, I'd be all for it. I'd be great at everything.
I'd be happy to help also. If you know, I know Tommie has got it unlocked down there, but you know, obviously,
thank you for that.
I could help out too in terms of you know, sending in anything or.
I tell you what,
or
and
whatever.
thank you, Johnny. It is appreciated. I tell you what that does put me off is some of Travis's horror story. Like you've had the worst fucking low. Man.
I've had a handful. It all started with that Orange Cassidy 1 of 1, and when I sent it off, was it January? When did it come out? Because I bought the box the day it came out. Was that January of this year? It was like a Thursday or something, Wednesday or Thursday. I drove an hour, half to get it because it was the only box that my shop got. Came home, opened it. I was like, holy crap, Orange Cassidy 1 of 1. And I was like, I'm going to get this graded. And it's a 1 of 1. And Johnny, it's like, you know, does the 1 of 1 or, you know, does getting a 9 or 10 make that 1 of 1 more expensive? But at the time, before EPAC, Cassidy fan, oh, it's miscut. What? Like, I pulled it out of a pack, put it into a penny sleeve, you know, card saver and sent it. And, oh, well, it's miscut. So then I call Upper Deck. Upper Deck's like, PSA doesn't know what they're doing. Like, what? Like, it. So you go back and forth. My most recent, I've submitted it twice with the National, but I have the Impel Sting hologram. And I keep hearing that, like, resubmit. Somebody's gonna grade it. I've submitted that my Impel Sting 3 times, and every time they've said that it's been cut, and it's also been pack pulled. So, like, it's a gift and a curse. Like, you know, I will be the first to say I don't have an eye for a 10. Like, I don't know. To me, like,
Shut
I just
up,
got
you
back a whole
tart. How many have you just had?
Well, yeah,
What?
but it's all luck, man. Like, it's all luck.
How many
And-
have you had recently of 10s?
I am 100% with you, man.
32.
Out of?
60 or no, 72. So I'm at little about 50%.
Johnny, how good is that?
That's not. I'm with you, man. That's pretty good.
That's good, man. Oh, shut up, Travis.
I have no eye for
You've got a
you.
good eye.
But the thing is, though, like, I swear to everything that's holy. I got that. The most recent I posted on Twitter. I got a Hulk Hogan Red Prism Auto. Nothing was wrong with this card. Nick came back a 910, but I sent it off just kind of like what Jamie was saying, because that's an important card to me. I don't want to keep penny sleeving. Like, I don't want to keep putting it in a one touch or a new. I was like, I'm just going to get it graded and it's done. But then I sent off a card that I was like, well, this is going to be a 9 because of this corner or whatever. Came back a 10. Like, there are times where it's just like it's throwing wet noodles against the wall. And I really do think that sometimes that there's a law of averages. Every once in a while, you know, a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. And I've just played the odds on this one and have done fairly well recently on the bulk.
Do all the Japanese cards grade well?
Yes.
Would you say?
Everything I've sent so far has come back at least a 9. I've not had anything lower.
Oh, really?
No.
Nothing.
Even
Nothing
like
lower.
90s cards.
That's decent. You know what I
I
mean?
sent a load of 90s cards to SGC, and
Yeah.
because the black on black I thought it looked really nice, and there was all 9s, 9.5s.
Do you think that's because the quality of the cards themselves are just generally better, or not producing as bigger numbers, or is it just a better way they're packed? What's the reason behind it, do you think?
I think they're just produced better. Like, I've seen in like the Pokemon side, people say the Japanese Pokemon cards are like better produced, like even for grading that. So I think just in general, the way they do it out there is just better. Like you do find less corner dings, or if anything is troubled, it is in person they've done it rather than machines.
I think they're definitely produced better as well. I've got some mid 90s, late 90s BBM cards, like a Rob Van Dam from I think 98, 96, 98, I forget. And it looks better than something that I pulled from a Panini pack. Sharp corners. Also, I think to benefit a lot of the Japanese cards, unlike American cards, they won't put a border. So there's really no way to tell an off center because you don't have like a border like a Topps or a Panini on either side. It's full bleed. You know, Lloydy knows what that is with comic art, but like it just goes through. So you don't have that like border to where, oh, it's 45, 65. We're going to knock a grade. They've just got full art. But to, you know, what we were talking about, most of my 10s, with the exception of a couple of my Sasha cards, are all BBM rebirth cards. And so I would say of the 32 10s, 20 of them are BBM or Japanese cards. And it's because of a higher quality. I think that they when they put them in the packs and they produce them, that they put a little bit more pride into them than kind of what we've been seeing recently within the breaks of, hey, this, you should have got this insert card or that. And I just think that they put more pride with it.
It's funny too, because even, I don't know if you guys caught our episode we did with Billy, the last one we did from Upper Deck. And he flat out said, you know, we're not cutting our own stuff. You know, everything's getting sent to a third party where they're producing everything, cutting it, whatever, and it's, you know, that's where the delays are coming from.
Did you notice where they're cutting it as well? In Italy, where Panini is.
Right. Well,
the irony
to me is like what Trav was just saying about, you know, the pride. You know, are these companies just turn around and saying, we got a deadline, we got so much shit coming in, like, screw it, let's just cut everything and get it sent out. You know, just keep it going because we can't, you know.
We've already got paid. We don't care what the secondary market is. We've got paid. We're going to cut it. We're going to do our job.
Well, they don't even know what they're cutting, probably. They're probably just like, it's like a paper cutting company or whatever. You know, they're probably just like, you know, all right, here's the layout. Boom, here we go. I mean, I love them, but you could probably tell that with some of the Upper Deck Series 1 flagship stuff. You know, between the miscut stuff, you know, some of the foil that's kind of coming off the card, and you know, edges and corners and stuff. You know, is it reflective of Upper Deck? Maybe, maybe not. But it's also like I think the companies are just, they're so inundated with stuff going on. They're just
that feeds nice into my next question. Then really is, what do you think the US market can take from the Japanese market and vice versa? What can they learn from each other to help the product going forward?
I think like just less sets every year, because like I think that's one of the reasons why the autos are just so good in Japan. Because like you look how much they're signing, there's a Japanese wrestler's probably at max signing 250 cards a year, and that's only minimal. Most are probably 99. Let's have an insert. Whereas you think WWE, they're signing like more, double that, just one set. And even just like the stuff like the checkies, they just more personalised stuff. And it just sells so well out there. Like they're numbered to 10, but every checkie is different, and they get free reign to design each one, the wrestler. So it is more of a personal feel rather than a company.
I agree 100%. It's less sets. You know, as a podcaster, I love it that there's so much to talk about every week, because, you know, it would be kind of boring to talk about the same 4 sets every year. But as a consumer and a fan, I would like to see less stuff, because I think they'd put more of their heart and more. They'd care more about the products they're putting out, because there'd only be a handful of them, and they better get it right, because they can't risk a flop or bad, you know, criticism. And I just think for the collector, it would be better, because let's face it, how many, you know, how many Braun Breaker autos do you need?
No.
You
All
know,
of them.
I knew he was going to say
I'm
that.
sure,
That's
I'm sure
not
your
the right
wallet would
answer.
appreciate if there was maybe one or two instead of 47. You know, and I feel the same way sometimes.
I'm with you there. I hate when there's like about 3 or 4 different ones in a set, and like dual autos, vertical, horizontal. We were talking about it earlier on today with like select and stuff like that. With the, I'm not a fan of multiple things, because you're never going to get them all, and you want them, but you have to take out a second mortgage to get the PC that you actually want, right? Especially in the bubble of 2022 prices, right? So it is what it is, but the thing is, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, really, because as I say, if we went back to last year, for example, and there was supposed to be a lot released last year, right? But it all came out at the start of this year before it went to Panini, right? It was pretty dry last year. And Johnny, you did great last year, considering there was not much product coming out, right? But I think there's far too much product coming out these days. But I think, really, Japanese-wise, if there was more product per year, not that much more, but if there was a bit more and a bit more variety, potentially, and not a game, I think it would be a different conversation today, to be honest.
But they did do 2 sets in 2020. They done a winter set, which I think came out November time, but I'm not sure how well it actually done out there, because it had less names in it and less autos. So at the time, he was getting about 6 autos a set, but that one it was 4, and it was the same price. So I think they've tried more, but I'm not sure if it actually sold well out there.
Do you think it would hurt them if they went to 2 autos per set?
Probably, yeah. Just because the amount of, you're getting less of the big hits, just because how big the base sets are is 150s, whereas I know now if I get my usual amount, I can get at least a few of the big hits, and I am spending not as much.
You find a lot of the shows and stuff though over here, Tommie, like when you've been to events here, do they have the cards brought over with them as part of the merch, or do you not see cards at all at shows?
A couple have brought them over, but they just give them out free. I think they get a load for free each year. So Yuka was given out free with her key rings, and I know Venny was giving them out for free every purchase earlier in the year. And a lot of people just didn't realise they was a thing. So I think that is going to help if they do continue to do that.
Yeah, I mean, at Royal Quest 2, I was kind of hoping we'd see some cards on the merch tables, but it's just none, was there? Nothing.
I've never seen, out of all of the times I've been there with a Japanese people there, and not just the wrestlers there, but obviously the event being run basically by them. I've never seen cards. Not once. Sad though, isn't it? Really,
I think 8x10s are just the big in-person thing to get.
Yeah.
So you get them, and out there you can get either the 1-shot or 2-shot, which is a picture of them, or out there a lot of people take just a singular picture of
And
the
the
wrestler
Polaroid
in a pose.
they're big. Yeah, I love Polaroids.
And they're fairly cheap. It's
Yeah,
I have every one I've got with a wrestler on the wall, and it's £10 a picture, so it's the same price. And they do poses, and they will sign them afterwards.
I would like to see with the autograph. I'm going to jump on the Johnny and Lloydy bandwagon. We see so many autographs. We see out of 200, out of 100, out of 50, then the unnumbered. But with one thing that I feel that BBM does well is when you get an autograph card, you get it's not personalized, but you'll get an inscription. So every autograph card is fairly different, almost we'll call it an eBay one of one to reference the Card Foundation, because they're all different. They've got a little inscription. You can look at 2 different BBM autos and it's got something different. And because they're only having to sign 50, 100 a year so they can, right.
And it's like artwork, you know.
And
A
you
lot of
you
these
get
signatures,
that.
they're
So
beautiful.
oh wow, I'm getting an autograph card, but I'm also getting, like I think one of my Julias says, I love Hero or I love wrestling. But mine is in blue, and I've had a friend whose is in black. And it's like we have the same card, but they are two completely different looking cards. So it adds more to that. So instead of having the same sticker auto, and God bless them, I know that they're, trying to get people to buy because to get the big hit. But when you see the same squiggle, 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 like there's nothing other than the foil on the card and the number on the card. There's nothing to differentiate a one-on-one auto and a numbered
fully
auto.
Convinced in the States that is because of the amount of product we're getting. If I'm Roman Reigns and I'm signing, I don't know, whatever it is, 2,000 cards, I'm going to go to the RR because I don't want to sit there for 15 hours and get carpal tunnel because I gotta sign this stuff. They're getting paid for it, which I don't feel that bad. But at the end of the day, who wants to sit there for that long?
Right.
Did you ever see that John
That's like,
Cena one? Yeah.
I was about to say the same thing where he's like, I'm about to sign. He's like,
yeah. Left-handed as well. I never knew he was left-handed until I watched it. It was
sounded
really
like a child
weird.
with the crayon, though, weren't he? Like the fist.
Yeah, we're seeing it in all sports. I mean, even like there's like basketball guys that I collect where it's like their initials now. It's like JR or whatever, and it's sad. Those cards aren't beautiful anymore.
Thing is, they could do something stylistic if they wanted to, but they choose not to. They choose to go. They all do it. Generally, all the big people do it. You know what I mean? But I think it means less. The less effort they put in, the less you feel like you're getting a part of them as a person.
Well, you appreciate a beautiful auto. If you pull like a Jerry the King Lawler autograph and it's like his signature is so beautiful, and it's like, wow, this is a piece. This is, I want to get this slabbed. I want to display this. Except Rollins, I don't want to display his auto. It's like, I don't know, I get so turned off by that.
Well, it's even like Finn Balor, for example. Like his auto was so nice in New Japan, and then over the years, it's just become this awful squiggle, And you just think, it's down to the quantity they're trying to do,
Asuka's done the same. Hers was like really big in the BBM days. You look at it now, it's just a small squiggle, which why I'm surprised Io has still in a new name has like a really good one. I thought she would go to a really small one or something.
They lend to not being on stickers, right? It's kind of killed us a bit with that, to be honest. Killed us with stickers over the last year. I think I've got used to it. I think I've got used to it, though. I'm like,
slowly drain us.
It's a bit sad, really.
So something that's interesting me then in that case, obviously we've got Holy Grail cards in US collecting, or like these cards that someone really wants. What are the big cards that everyone wants to look for in Japanese that has never surfaced, or when you would see it, like you would do anything to buy it? Like, are there these cards in Japanese wrestling?
For me, it's the Nakano one from 2012. Like, I've seen it once, and at the time I didn't have the money for it. And this was early on when I was getting into it, so I just assumed I'd be able to find it again. And now it's like, if it comes up, I'm just putting it on my card, no matter the cost, because it's been about 5 years and I've just never seen another one.
So what does that compare to then? Like, in equivalent of WWE or AEW, what would that be in equivalent then?
I'm not sure. Like, she's not signed since like 2013, and it's like,
oh wow,
it's been about 7-8 years since she's last signed, and they don't really get the legends in the BBM sets. It's all active wrestlers now. So like, I think any legends, and a lot of them are underpriced out there. So like, you can still get some legends fairly cheap, but then there is the big names like Bull Nakano and Manami Toyota who will go for hundreds.
I think two grails, especially recently, are from the 2004 BBM set. It is the Kana or the Asuka rookie. That, before her getting big and before cards got big, was of Japan, $500 to $800 on eBay. Also, there's an American Dragon. My personal grail is I've got it. I had to network with about 6 people, rob and trade. I still do have both of my kids, thank the Lord. So, but one of the new up and coming stars in Stardom 5-star tournament, she's part Japanese, part Italian. So she's this very, I mean, I'm not ashamed to say she's a very attractive, like blonde wrestler. She also wears a lot of wigs, a lot of different costumes. She puts a lot into her persona and constantly changes. And she was in Ice Ribbon before coming to Stardom and had 2 BBM cards. Her rookie auto is one that Henny and I went back and forth, but I finally got that, and I think her 2 autos from 2018 and 2019 BBM are going to be an investment piece soon if she breaks through and gets popular, because like I said, there's less than 100 autos of each, and then each of them are individually inscribed with their own inscription.
Johnny, anything from your side? Any grail piece per se?
Tommie posted mine in the my Facebook group today. The 97 ECW VHS cards. That was a lovely thing to wake up to on a Saturday morning, I'll tell you that. I was like, all right, and I got to scrounge the collection to see what I could sell to try to come up with a deal for this. I'm a huge ECW mark, so to me that's like the coolest set, just because ECW never got a proper trading card set. They had the stickers and the cards and the figures, but I don't count them because it's ridiculous. Right.
So I had them for 100 each for the whole set, or 150 individual, but there is no comps on them, so it's just like you throw a number out and see what sticks. No.
And you don't see them. They don't pop up, so it's like,
Did you guys see I think Tony on the Wrestling Trade the week before, but there was an actual uncut magazine sheet of ECW cards. I have never. Once again, that's another Japanese thing. I don't know what magazine it was, but he had retweeted somebody that, gosh, I forget who had it, and it's right in that same wheelhouse of those other ECW cards, like late 90s, Shane Douglas, Tommy Dreamer, the Gangsters, and it's like, wow, that is awesome.
I messaged Tommie earlier on in the summer about those ECW cards. Some of them appeared on that on Buy, and they were just the still videos. And I was trying to figure out for ages which tapes they had been and stuff. And you it's so hard to come across them, and then they just go, and then you never see them again, do you? They hardly pop up these ECW cards, and I think anyone after the full set of those, if you once you get them, it's such a hard thing to find, aren't they?
Well, I've never seen the Blue World Order one. I've seen every other one apart from that. So it's like, how many of them actually are out there? And I know someone else who had 8 of the 9 and they didn't have the Blue World Order one. So that seems to be such a hard one just to complete a set.
And I think they're a bit like the Ring of Honor cards. I think they're randomly in videos. They don't come, that one has got that one in, this one's got that one in. They're randomly inserted, aren't they, I think so.
They weren't in the Ring of Honor produced DVDs. It was only in the mass produced that you could get in, the time, the mass released ones, like ROH Best in the World, or, Most Violent, Dishonorable Matches, or whatever those titles were. But that was the only place that I knew to get those ROH. But like you were saying, those ECW cards are just great and hidden gems.
Well, the funny thing is, the first one I got was the RVD, and I had no idea what they was. I only brought the set. There was just 2 cards, and I only brought it for the BBM RVD because I knew it was possibly rookie. So the ECW one was just sat in my box for 6 months until someone mentioned it in I think it was on the Bring Your Own Blaster on the card group, that I realised what it was.
And that's the thing, though, is more and more people come to the hobby or haven't been involved for a few years. You learn things all the time, don't you? No matter how long you've been collecting, you always find something that you've never seen before. I think the last thing for me really is if anyone wants to reach out or learn more about Japanese cards, are you guys happy for people to reach out and spread the love of Japanese cards, really.
Yeah, like the one thing I've always said is like I'm always happy to help, because at the end of the day it is a little selfish as well, because if you help more people get into it, if down the road a year later you need to sell certain cards, there is more and more people who are an audience. But like I do think it is very easy to like actually buy the cards. It's just like getting over that first step. Once you know how to do it all, and it is very easy to search for it all.
100%. You can reach out to me. I met Tommie in the Card Foundation Facebook group, like every other gaijin or something here. And I've got a conversation. Tommie, what am I doing wrong? And this is before Tommie and I started talking consistently. It's like, oh, well, I want to find BBM. Well, you've got to go here. You've got to go here. It's under antiques. Like he gave me this. So there is a learning curve, and, definitely reach out. I'll help you out in any way that I can.
So in summary, go to Tommie, Travis, and Johnny. Do not come to Lloydy, Jamie, and Chris, because we ain't got a clue. We'll just pass you on to one of them. Yeah, exactly. So okay. So let's close off the show there. Then thank you very much, everyone, for joining this show. Amazing. I think we've done some great work tonight, gentlemen. Very, very good. So we'll go round the table. So email address. Jesus Christ, you don't want email address? No way. Socials.
Should I give them the last three of my credit card and social security number at this point?
So please, your socials and where people can find you, but also if you areas. I'm sure Tommie with your eBaying, and Travis with your podcasts, and Johnny with the 30,000 different roles that you've got in life. So let's go. Tommie first. Go on.
Best place to find me is on Instagram. Is Joshi Cars UK. It's Joshi Cars UK. I have a link tree in there to my eBay store, and like I post all the cars I buy on my Instagram, so you might see something there, and it'll help you find more stuff. But it's pretty much Joshi Cars UK everywhere. I do have a Twitter, but barely use it. It's more just following other people. That's pretty much it.
You can find me on Facebook under my name, Travis Fowler. I'm in a lot of the different wrestling groups, card groups. I'm on Twitter, TFowler1. I don't frequent it, but I do go on and see what the news is. Instagram is, I have to look because I don't do that very often, TFowler8. And then lastly, it's called the TV Toycast, where we talk about, as every week we have a main event of an old card talk, because I don't do a lot of that out. We have a great show and a great time every week, just doing like this, shooting
Travis,
the shit.
I'm going to come on one
every
time
week
and talk about Action Force, i.e.
G.I.
Joe.
And I'm ready.
That's my youth. Lovely. Cobra. And The Godfather. Go on, Johnny.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. This was great. This is something that we definitely needed to do within the community. I'd say I would have loved to have hosted it on my end, but that ain't gonna happen. Card Foundation podcast. Check it out. Every Thursday, new episodes. We don't really talk Japanese wrestling, but we talk, a lot of the modern stuff. The newest stuff coming out. We're on social media. You can follow along on Twitter. I'm the one that's mostly on the Twitter. I think it's Card Found Pod, or I don't even know at this point. I think it is. Yeah, it did. So it's back to at Card Found Pod. Check that out. That's where you're gonna get more of like the more nerdier stuff. I just repost a lot of our friends. If I see like you guys post something, or like WrestlingTradingCards.com, Tony is a great friend. I'll repost a lot of his stuff. But yeah, I want to give you guys a lot of praise. I think your show is awesome. it's a must listen every other week. Very happy that you guys met through our show. I mean, it's just like I'm very proud of that. It's very cool. As Lloydy disappears and goes away, and I continue.
You should be as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You should be proud.
No. I mean in a good way. Like, because all of us have all met through Car Foundation. Like, you've done a real big thing, really, and you know, all of us have formed friendships for it, Johnny. So yeah, big props to you guys.
Honestly, and that's what, like, for me, that's what means the most. So, like, honestly, at the end of the day, if like my show stopped and the community kept going on, that's what I'd care about. Just because, like, you guys all met and you have a show now, and like Tommie and Travers are talking every day, and I talk to Lloydy at least once a day, and we're not even on the same continent. And it's like, to me, that's the cool part. That's what, why we started what we did, to really just get everybody together and talking about the stuff that, didn't really have, a public space to do so, a couple of years ago. So that's, thank you guys for what you do too, because your content's great. So
cheers, brother. Jamie, do you want to do the our spiel?
Okay, here we go. Right. You can find us on Facebook. We're Squared Circle Rolex Podcast on Facebook. Lloydy looks after that pretty much most of the time, so he'll put his posts in Wrestling Card Wednesday and all that. So if you aren't liking that already, like it on there. Episode 11 has just come out today. I was trying to remember what number we did there, so that's been landed today. We do a breakdown of Spectrum, go for our purchases, top 5 this week. We're doing for our top 5 inserts, so check that out. It's available everywhere. It's now on Audible now as well, so if you're a bit of an audiobook fan, you can now find our podcast on Audible. And then going on from there, if you
we'll
want to
send you to sleep.
There's a pause and resume where you last left off in Audible.
Exactly. Especially the length of some of our episodes, you see. So yeah, so you can find us on Instagram, Squared Circle Relics Pod on Instagram. So you can find us on there. And you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Jamie Stocker. And again, I normally communicate a lot of people on wrestling cards on Twitter, so that's my main home, really. And that's pretty much for me, really.
Cool. Well, first of all, thank you, all 3 of you, for coming on and schooling us on Japanese cards, because we definitely need it. Yeah, you can find me on all social media platforms, Cambridge Trading Cards. Yeah. What about you, Dave?
So, just a reminder, I did say this on episode 11, but I think we're trying to get this episode out between 11 and 12. 12 will be as normal. 13, potentially, we will be recording it at a Comic-Con. So the 3 of us are going to Wales Comic-Con, which is not in Wales, it's in Telford, which makes all the sense in the world. We'll be there. Tony Vella will be there. We're going to try to give Kurt Angle a hug. Why not? Why not? He needs a hug. So we've got all that good stuff coming up. So come out and say hello to us. I'm Instagram D_LloydyBoy, if that's where you want to come and find me. Let's talk some stuff. Why not? Yeah, and I'm on the Facebook for the pods as well. So I'm on there as well. I think that's pretty much it, other than me saying thank you guys very much. Everyone say thank you, bye-bye.
Thank you.
No, thank you, bye-bye. Thank you, bye-bye. And fuck John Cena.
Boom.